Good evening. 36 hours later, the encounter at the Pathankot Air Base is still not over. The Home Secretary in his most recent briefing says that there are at least 2 terrorists, he will not speculate on whether there could be more, who remain to be neutralized. The assault, a brazen one, has left 7 Indians martyred and 20 of our own injured between the Air Force and the National Security Guard, the NSG. Remember, as this attack took place, there was actually advanced intelligence in place. The Home Minister Rajnath Singh curiously declared the operation to be successful yesterday, even before the operation had ended. He's now saying he will not comment on anything till the operation is over. And the government and the military is saying that the operation will not be declared over till all the bodies have been recovered, seen, verified and counted. Over the next 90 minutes on our special analysis, we look at both the national security implications of what we are seeing happening at the air base in Pathankot, but also the political questions. Because in many ways, for anyone who has followed India-Pakistan closely, right after the Prime Minister's very audacious and some would say brave Lahore stopover, one expected that terrorists would try and retaliate. But with the air base, with a strategic base like the air station in Pathankot coming under assault, and with public reaction still processing, 7 Indians martyred, 20 injured, has this proven to be the first litmus test for Mr. Modi's Pakistan policy? And can he persist with the path of dialogue that he's undertaken? Remember, the foreign secretaries are scheduled to meet on the 15th in Islamabad, should those talks still happen. On this program today, we'll also be raising the multiple questions that have arisen as to whether there could have been a clearer communication policy, a one-stop communication center, which is something that every big encounter seems to throw up, but we don't seem to learn the lessons from. Let's introduce our guests now. With me in the studio is Dullat, who's of course the former chief of the RANW. General Atta Hasnain, he's the former General Officer Commanding of 15 Corps. Brigadier Gurmeet Kanwal, who's of course been with the Center for Land and Warfare Studies. G. Parthasarathy, somebody who knows Pakistan very well, has been High Commissioner there, but also interestingly attended a meeting with the External Affairs Minister today, who is sounding out many former Pakistan envoys to try and evolve a strategy. So more from him in a moment from now. Also joining me from Bangalore today is of course the former Air Force Chief. We're joined by Air Chief Marshal Fali Major, and for a political perspective, Abhishek Singhvi of the Congress is with us, and Sambit Patra of the BJP is with us as well. But first to my colleague Sudhi Ranjan Sen in Pathankot. Sudhi, without giving any operational details away, and we're saying that again and again on this channel, is there any update to what the Home Secretary has already told us, that there continue to be at least 2? That was a very significant phrase he used, at least 2 terrorists waiting to be neutralized.
Well, yes, the air officer commanding the Pathankot base just spoke to us again shortly, and he was very clear that let's not speculate on the numbers, and it is only after we have completely cleared the airbase, completely sanitized the airbase, and are completely sure that there are no more remaining terrorists, it is only then will we talk about numbers. On the ground, what we can tell you, Barkha, is that intermittent firing has been going on, which means that the operations are going on. It is unlike yesterday, where the operations were called off just after sundown, and rightly so, the area had been cordoned off, in which they thought, the terrorists could have been there, and the search and search operations or sanitizing operations began at early morning today. Today, we can tell you that the operation is still continuing. And the indications I am getting is that the military either has been able to completely seclude and contain the terrorists, whatever the numbers are, and will go for a final assault and try to eliminate all the terrorists that are there, because otherwise it doesn't really explain why they would continue the operations in the middle of the night, after nightfall. But
right. So they stay with us. There'll be many more questions over the next 60 minutes, and it would be good to have you on the ground with us as questions come up here in our discussion. Let's just get first reactions from the Army and the Air Force, and then I think we'll open it up. Let me get Fali Major to come in. Air Marshal Major, how do you see what's happened? The importance of this airbase first. I think it's very important for our viewers to understand context. Why is this airbase so strategically important? What does it mean for this base to come under attack?
Barkha, the Air Force base at Pathankot, as you know, is just about 30-35 kilometers as the crow flies from the international boundary. It is also geographically located at a place which borders 3 states, Punjab, Himachal, and on the other side, of course, J&K. And given the fact that the international boundary runs pretty close to it, and also the fact that this base has been used in earlier wars and will be used in future wars for launching operations and recovering aeroplanes, it is of great significance to the Indian Air Force. The assets basically on any forward located airfield are very, very precious and need to be protected. Given the old system of classical wars, all Air Force bases were protected for, either paratroopers coming in or some kind of other kind of assault, and not terrorist strikes, as is the case in the recent past.
Okay.
And therefore, the protection of such airfields is very, very important. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, the significance of this Air Force need not be overemphasized.
General Hasnain, though the fact is that there was advanced intelligence, we had at least a day from what we understand and what we know to actually move in NSG commandos. This encounter is still on. Does that surprise you?
Not at all. I would say it would probably take longer.
Why?
If I was the commander there, I would tell them 72 hours more.
Why?
What is the hurry? Any time you hurry up with an operation, you only add to your casualties, right? Have patience. I find the media is actually looking at it very positively this time and not hurrying up either. They're not putting the pressure either. But there seems to be a tremendous amount of speculation in the public as to why this operation is taking 38 hours, 40 hours. I have seen operations in the valley in much smaller locations, much smaller objectives, which have lasted for 96 hours or more. And what is the hurry anyway? The idea is go in, painstakingly go out, carry out your operations and take them out. The more you hurry, the more you're going to get casualties.
Okay, so we have a military perspective. I just want to get a political perspective in, and then we'll start looking at the diplomacy and the other questions that arise from this. Sambit Patra, the fact is that this is a litmus test for Prime Minister Modi. And what's curious is he hasn't said very much. All he has said is that enemies of humanity will be defeated, have been defeated. He's not taken the name of Pakistan, though the Home Minister has. The Prime Minister hasn't. Can we take it to be that the Prime Minister does not want to squander the political capital that he riskily invested with his stopover in Lahore? This is not the Prime Minister Modi of the 2014 campaign, certainly. This is certainly not the BJP we saw pre-2014.
No, I think we are overreading all these. I mean, as far as the statement of the Prime Minister is concerned, I think there is no change, no shift in stand of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has always spoken aggressively and, in fact, giving a befitting reply to all those forces which act against India. Secondly, we have to remember, what's the hurry was the exact word said by the general before me. In the sense that when the combat is going on...
But he's talking about the operation.
When the fight is
I'm asking you about the political response.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm coming to. I mean, what's the hurry in the sense that when the operation is still on the ground, when the combat is on, I think the priority of any government would be to see to it that the combat becomes successful, the logistics in the combats are right. Before commenting on whether we will have talks with Pakistan or not, who are the ones who are responsible, I'm sure Pakistan, responsible the evidence is available, these things would be tabled. No one is going to provide any kind of alibi to Pakistan. But the issue is, these things should be thoroughly researched, these things should be thoroughly gone through before put on the table by none other than the highest authority in the country, that's the Prime Minister.
Well, the Home Minister spoke of a befitting reply to Pakistan yesterday, so he was the one who named Pakistan, not me, and in that context I was saying the Prime Minister had not. Now that could be wise. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing, I'm just saying it as it is. Abhishek Singhvi, is this the time for the Congress to say, whatever our differences, there's an encounter still on, this is not the time to question the government on its Pakistan policy? Abhishek.
Look, Barkha, I've been abroad, so I don't know the nitty-gritty of some of the responses, but I don't find anything of the sort which you are rightly apprehending happening. I think in a matter of national security, on a Pakistan or a Pakistan sponsor or a Pakistan related intrusion, the country is one. There cannot be, has not been and will not be any politics. And I for one obviously stand with India in this hour of national security. There is no doubt about that. Having said that, I must add that we do not have, and as a responsible member of a responsible opposition, I will go no beyond that. We do not have direct evidence yet of the extent and the degree of informal Pakistan-sponsored state actors of some kind or the other. But I have no doubt that the rogue elements, and I'm not yet going to the government of Pakistan, there are behind this, and they are probably clearly snooping a nose at the initiative from their point of view of Nawaz Sharif, from our point of view of our Prime Minister, because these rogue elements would not want that to go further. I think the fact that we will overcome this, whether we do it in 48 or 72 or 96 hours, is beyond doubt. I mean, this is too puny a situation for the might of India not to overcome, and that these people will be killed is not the issue. The issue is that we have to, it's a warning to us, we have to hasten very carefully, we have to hasten even slowly, and we have to ensure that we always fence ring and ring fence all the safeguards, so that when we talk, for example, we say, look, these are the deliverables we want, let us see what deliverables you can give in actually controlling this fellow of Jaish, which is behind this apparently.
Does it surprise you? Does it surprise you that we haven't really heard much from the Prime Minister, or do you think that that's actually sensible, given that the operation is still on, Abhishek?
Well, I think during the time the operation is on, one will, understand it. One may not, and one can also understand the fact that he has thrust out his hand, and then finds this within a few days of that visit. So he would not want to, directly start blaming Nawaz Sharif. Frankly, to be honest, Varkha, at the moment, I don't think Nawaz Sharif can be blamed in that sense. That's why I use the words carefully. The rogue elements behind Nawaz Sharif's system, yes, but we have no direct evidence yet. But if there is the slightest evidence of that, Barkha, then I think India needs to recalibrate very strongly. Cosmetic gestures will have to be abolished, and we have to do some hard-nosed diplomacy and give and take from both hands simultaneously, and more take than give.
Okay, I just want to bring in Ambassador Parthasarathy now. Rogue elements is the phrase that Abhishek Singhvi is actually using, but you've actually written already, and I read your initial analysis, that you believe that this does have the imprint of the Pakistan Army and the ISI.
Well, they have come in with global positioning systems, highly sophisticated weapons, heavily armed, and they have also come in duly prepared for guerrilla warfare. Now, quite obviously that needs military or paramilitary training. That's one. Two, a group like this, so well and heavily armed, cannot cross the international border with the chaps deployed on the border knowing nothing about it. So let's be real. The extent of involvement, at what level, we will find out in course of time. But I have no doubt in my mind that this has been certainly acquiesced in, if not facilitated by, people deployed on the border.
So where does that leave Mr. Modi's Lahore initiative? Because you're not buying the rogue elements theory, clearly, that you're not buying that theory.
No.
You're saying that it was too sophisticated?
I am saying that it was too sophisticated. What now? Who are the elements who helped them through? Whether they are rogue elements or not, I can't say. But there was no question that elements of the Pakistani state would have to facilitate.
So where does that leave the policy? Where does that leave the Lahore gamble?
Well, I don't call it a Lahore gamble. So what? You had the Kargil attack after the Vajpayee's visit. So what's the big deal? We went ahead.
So should we keep talking?
My point is you have to engage. I was talking to Nawaz Sharif at the height of Kargil. Look, there are two things you must understand which people like you don't. There is a difference between engaging a government and a dialogue process. The dialogue process was premised on an end to terrorism, okay? So I have always opposed that dialogue process. But keeping contact even in times of war is something which is necessary, and we have done it.
Okay, so let me...
At the height of the wars between countries...
Yeah, Abhishek, you wanted to comment.
The Americans have been in touch. The Americans have been in touch with the Taliban right through this operation.
Abhishek, go ahead.
Only the following clarification that perhaps I think we are saying the same thing. When I said rogue elements, I meant that I'm only giving the benefit of doubt also. That is also a cautious thing at the moment. To Nawaz Sharif alone.
Yeah, that's one.
By rogue elements, I meant all the other elements like ISI or army, etc. Certainly they are behind. That's what I meant.
I have 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with him.
There is no doubt of that. And that's what I was trying to say, that I can at the moment give the benefit of doubt that, it sounds unlikely. That's all that I will say.
And I share that
But certainly what we are seeing cannot be without, whether you call it rogue elements as I called it, or ISI or army, elements there who do not want it. It could well be, let me add, that there is a small section in the army which wants greater thaw, greater normalization, but a large section, as frequently happens in Pakistan, which doesn't want it.
Okay, now
that is certainly behind this kind of a maneuver.
Now the Prime Minister is back in Delhi. We're just getting information that he's actually chairing a high-level meeting with the National Security Advisor and others. Brigadier Kanwal, you have raised actually some questions on your Twitter feed today about some of the confusion that has accompanied this particular operation, and it continues to. One of the confusions, General Hasnain, as you will know, was over what our own fatalities were. The number was put out as 3 yesterday officially, but unofficially almost every one of us were told that it was 6. Today we are putting that figure now at 7, 20 injured. So that was one confusion. There have also been multiple comments from multiple people. Rajnath Singh, for example, saying that the operation was successful yesterday. Most people took that statement to mean the operation was over. Has there been ineffective or I would say self-goalish communication on this encounter?
May I first comment on the rogue element part?
Yes.
There's no such thing as rogue elements. The Jaish-e-Mohammed, the Lashkar-e-Taiba are directly under the control of the ISI. We give them justification to say that there are rogue elements. If we parrot it out like that, they are fully under control. This, like Ambassador Parthasarathi said, has the signature of the ISI written all over it. To talk about communication, yes, in every such operation, somebody should be in charge of both the operation, one single commander, and somebody should be appointed by that commander to communicate with the media. This lesson has been learned from Mumbai 26/11 onwards, and unfortunately we don't seem to practice it.
So what's the kind of confusion that you saw evident this time that could have been easily avoided?
Well, talking about casualties, how many have been killed, how many casualties we've suffered, when the contours of the operation were not clear and the operation is still ongoing. That kind of confusion generates a lot of doubt in the mind of the public and is best avoided.
So you think there should be a single point communication, but that communication could be frequent, could be regular at least, Daulat Saab?
Yeah, of course it should be regular. I agree with both Ambassador Parthasarathi and what the Brigadier has said, that, we talk about, Pakistan talks about rogue elements and non-state actors, but their non-state actors are actually our state actors, and if they are really non-state actors, then there are two questions which arise, that does the Pakistan establishment make use of these non-state actors, and if not, then they must explain how this happens, and they must cooperate in then, weeding them out.
But all of you seem to be saying that even that you don't see the Jaish as a non-state actor, but yet this should not impact what has been begun in Lahore. Partha, is that a fair summary?
What I'm saying is, look, I'm not aware of what were the details of what happened in Lahore. All